of that £18, we're not making 12 quid on it. That would be amazing. I want it rare, but I want it warm in the middle. At that point, you just give up. 20% of it immediately goes to as soon as you cook it, 20% of it goes to the government in VAT. In my opinion, at the moment, it's not sustainable. We can't continue the way it's going. I think it's 700 have gone since 2016. I think there were some tense times. We got through it. My time at the pub was really impacting my ability to do my social media job. I was falling behind on brand deals. I've no doubt I was pissing my management off. Welcome back to the Pub Diary with me, Rody May. This is episode 3, and this week we're going to talk about cost. We're going to talk about it's just me on my own this week, by the way. This week we're going to talk about the cost of running a pub. Something that potentially customers, staff, after last week's conversation with Greg Smith, the MP for Bucks, even politicians might not understand the real cost and what's involved in running a pub. Not just financially, but also mentally and physically as well, like what it takes to run a pub. So I can only obviously talk from my experiences. I'm certainly not going to talk for anyone else in this respect because I don't feel we're anywhere near qualified enough to do that. Plus, I also understand the business model, how we run the pub is very different to how some other people run it. But I will talk about the two differences there as well, or how... Like I say, all of this is coming from my perspective. It may not be right, people might not agree with me, but I can only talk about my experiences. Having been a landlord for coming up 2 years, which I appreciate again, is not very long. But before we get into that, I'm going to have to react to yesterday's news about business rates, which is obviously a really hot topic at the moment amongst not just pubs, but the whole hospitality sector and industry as a whole. Now, the government announced a 15% relief yesterday for pubs, which, don't get me wrong, it helps. Of course it helps. But I think the average rise amongst pubs, again, I can only talk about pubs here because that's all I've really looked at. The average rise amongst pubs, I think, is 75%. So although 15% is great, some people are still staring down the barrel of a 60% business rates increase, which for a lot of people is in no way manageable. I mean, that's a crazy amount of money extra to find this year that they didn't have to find last year. And it's still going to kill lots and lots of businesses. And although, yes, obviously business rates is a hot topic and is a big problem in this industry, and the rises are crazy and it's killing off businesses, it's not the only thing that's killing the industry. They've got to look at a VAT decrease for the hospitality industry as a whole, even if it's just like an emergency drop for a year or 2 years. It's got to come down. In my opinion, at the moment, it's not sustainable. We can't continue the way it's going. Businesses will just close. They are closing. I think 700 have gone since 2016. I think I read this morning, something like that. In the last 10 years, it's just crazy. And pubs are shutting week after week. And also, like, the relief shouldn't just be for pubs. I mean, there's cafes, restaurants. They're all struggling. They've all got the same pressures that pubs have got. And I don't know why. I mean, obviously, maybe it's just because pubs have been the focus so much, which is why they've only done it for pubs. But again, it should be across the whole sector. So that's kind of how I reacted to that yesterday. Help is obviously good, but it's nowhere near far enough. We need more help, and we don't just need help with business rates. We need help with that across the whole board, because we're struggling, and that's my opinion on that. But so anyway, I didn't think I could do this week's podcast without talking about it as that news dropped yesterday. But back to this week, which I was going to talk about, is the costs of running a pub, financial cost and kind of physical, mental cost of it as well. So we'll start with the obvious costs. How do you open it? You open the doors. What does a pub need? So obviously stock. First thing you've got to get is stock. If you do food, you've got to get your food in. If you do booze, you've got to get all your drinking. Obviously, pubs do booze, so they'll all do that. Now, I do. I don't know if most people are like this. I pay for my stock on a 7-day direct debit. It makes sense to me. You get your stock. Well, our delivery. You get our delivery in on a Thursday. You get a week to sell it, and then the money comes out the next week. And that kind of makes sense to me. It's great that you kind of you get to kind of pay for your essentially you get a chance to sell it before you have to pay for it. But it's gone up. So like I say, I've nearly been doing this for 2 years, and stock has gone up. Wages will have gone up twice. So minimum wage will have gone up twice. Energy bills rising all the time. Repairs and maintenance on pubs. I don't know if this is just mine, but it's practically a weekly thing. I've basically I've got a handyman or a catering company in here. Not a catering maintenance company in here pretty much on a weekly basis. Something is always going wrong. I don't know whether they're because it's like an old building or that's just the game, but those little hidden costs, particularly when the margins are so small. I mean, that's kind of what we were talking about last week, wasn't it? Like the margins on a pint. You know, our cheapest pint is £6.50. You know, our beers, our lagers and beers are pretty premium, so they're all kind of like £6.50 across the board, apart from Hawkston, which is £6.90. But I don't know whether there's like people genuinely think that from that £6.90, pubs and landlords are making £4, £3, whatever it is. I mean, obviously, it's just not the case. I mean, you're lucky to make 30, 40p on that pint, I would say, once you've kind of factored in everything, once you've factored in the rent, the overheads, obviously what it costs you, staff costs, energy costs, business rates, just general maintenance that kind of goes into running a pub over the thing, then wastage, all of that's got to be taken into account. Cleaning you lose I don't know 2.5, 3 pints when you clean the lines. So it's all of those costs involved in stock, which kind of bring your bottom line down and means you're not making this. It'd be lovely to make a massive profit on booze, but you can't. And in a pub like this, where we do all right with sales, but the volume isn't like it's not like a Wetherspoons where you can like see like pint after pint after pint after pint after pint. This is a pub where people come and have a drink, and they're not. It's not the bar's not 4 deep like you see some of these. But I totally understand how how it works, how they're making money. But here, you sell your pints, you make your money you make on it, and you kind of hope people come back the next day. It's like there's not a huge markup in it. And then people will say, well, you don't make money on booze in pubs, you make money on food. Well, which yes, the margin on food can be quite high on certain foods, of course it can, but again, 20% of it immediately goes to as soon as you cook it, 20% of it goes to the government in VAT, which we've got to charge. So again, this is the thing: is I always judge a pub by its burger price. Well, I don't. I do, but I've only learned to do this because I'm pretty sure that's a lot of customers will judge a pub by its burger price. And if you ask me, I think our burgers. I think it was 18. I think it's down to 16 now. I think we've brought it down to 16. I can't remember. But like in this area, for a kind of a pub, a foodie pub, somewhere between 18 and 16 seems to be the sweet spot for a burger. Now, do I want to charge £16, £18 for a burger? Of course not. Do I think a burger should be that much? No. Does a burger have to be that much? No. You could buy an economy burger frozen from a wholesaler, and you probably could charge £12 for a burger. But we don't do that here. We get all of our meat from Beef Olive, our local butcher, who obviously if you followed on socials, you'll know all about Beef Olive. And it's a premium burger. And it's a premium bun. And it's got thought about fillings to it. So it's a bloody good burger. We do a really good burger. But of that £18, we're not making 12 quid on it. Again, that would be amazing. So you can't. It's, like I say, just don't. I don't think you can go into a pub thinking, well, they might not do loads of drinks, but they do loads of food, so they'll be making a fortune out of food. I don't think anyone makes a fortune in this game. People, which I'll come on to later. Kind of like the hidden costs, really. Not the cost, but the hidden cost, the time spent at the pub. So when I was naive when I took this pub on. Really, I thought I could kind of come in, hire a head chef, hire a manager, be around a bit, and then kind of like after 3 months step away. And that wasn't the case, and that is not a slight on the people we hired to do those jobs. It was just because, firstly, there was a lot to do, so I needed to be here. Secondly, I think you suddenly realise that a pub needs, but for a pub to work, you need consistent people behind the bar, which we've been lucky at with our staff. We've maintained a lot of staff from opening, but I think having a landlord figure, a constant figure here and in this kind of pub helps. It helps people think that you care. Well, it doesn't think you care. It shows that you care, I should say. So the more that went on, and the more I was here, it was almost like the more I wanted to be here, and the less I could kind of take myself away from it. And kind of so I did a lot. I worked here a lot more than I thought I was going to. Certainly in the first year, which massively affected home life. We used to have a family roast dinner at home every Sunday. We did it probably for 4 years on the trot. Barely missed a roast dinner. The first 9 months of the pub being open, I think we had one roast dinner at home. I worked pretty much every Sunday. I really enjoyed it. Me and Charlie, my eldest son, we did the bar together. It was good fun. But it took its toll. My wife was at home. Sometimes she would say it was pissing her off. I could tell it was pissing her off that I wasn't there, but I kind of knew I needed to be here, and I was definitely the driving force behind taking on the pub. So that kind of argument is like, but I needed to be at the pub. Well, you wanted the pub, and so I kind of it was tough. There was some tense times, but we got through it, and I don't. So compared to that first year, last year, 2025, my shifts. I've barely done any shifts at all. In all honesty, I'm here for events, and I dip in, and I'm kind of around, but I've kind of left it to the guys to run. I'm still here. I still come pretty much every day. I'm on the computer all the time. I'm always trying to catch up with accounts. I'm always behind on my accounts. I'm always here to talk if anyone needs any help. I'm always here to not advise because I don't know what I'm doing, but I've always got opinions. I mean, I'm not stupid. I see things. I think I'm quite good at looking at a pub from a customer's point of view. I think that's where my kind of angle is always. I'm always thinking from the customer's point of view, not necessarily from a cost point of view or a sense point of view or a logistics point of view, which drives people crazy because I'm very like, it'll all be all right. I'll sort it. Don't worry. It'll all be all right. And not everyone can work like that. And I totally get it. It's real. I know I'm really frustrating as a person, and I definitely add to people's stress. But that is just the way I am, really. So that was kind of I kind of went off on a bit of a tangent there, just having a go at myself. But that was just to show kind of like just talk about like the stress on the family, and just like being away from home a lot in those early times. And I kind of, like I say, our business model is different. Like the idea is that we have people to run the pub for us, and we pay them a wage, and that's how this pub runs. But I know, like, the traditional way used to be of running a pub, husband and wife team, one of them in the kitchen, one of them out front. I'm not going to say who's in the kitchen, but it could go. Obviously, it can work either way, and I don't want to get myself in trouble. So one in the kitchen, one out front, and they do the lot themselves. They're here pretty much all the time. If they're lucky, they might get away for a week on holiday, but essentially the pub is their life. They live on site, and that's how they do it. And they make a living. So they make their living. And there's still people out there that do that. Obviously, I couldn't have done. I couldn't be all in. I've got too much other stuff going on. This isn't my job. Essentially, my job is social media, and this is what I was finding. We make money on social media. We live off the money on social media. But my time at the pub was really impacting my ability to do my social media job. I was falling behind on brand deals. I've no doubt I was pissing my management off because I couldn't get back to them quick enough because every time I got a message on my phone, another one had come in, and I know you should deal with the first one, but I was just like fighting fires, dealing with other stuff, and brand new like work I should have been doing was kind of going by the wayside because I was too busy going. Because when you're behind a bar, you can't just get on your phone and sit down and do stuff. And plus, when you're here, people always want a piece of you, not just staff but customers as well. And so you're always doing something. Someone's always talking to you. So that was like a really stressful period, of which we're in a good place now where I'm back focusing on my proper job. I don't want to call it a proper job because obviously working in a pub is a proper job, but my main job, and I'm in a good place where I can just be here in the mornings, do the accounts and whatever I need to do, see the guys, check in, make sure everything's okay, be here for events, and help plan and work with my front of house manager and my head chef on new menus and stuff, and have ideas and get involved in that way. But essentially, the day-to-day running, just leave that to them, and that's where we're at the moment. And it's a good place to be, and got to I'm much more at home, which is great. So that's kind of like the personal cost, or how I've found the personal cost. More physical costs. I think I've spoken about maintenance of the place. It's just crazy keeping up with all that. But that was like the other. Do you know what? The other thing that really used to get me down about working here on Sundays, like we do a roast dinner. We do a good roast dinner. We're always fully booked for on Sundays. We have been since we've opened, so we're lucky in that respect. And I know kind of the hard work that goes on behind the scenes, obviously, because I see it and how hard these guys work to get great food. We use great quality ingredients. They cook it all fresh. It's all ready to go. The roast dinner's spot on. Obviously, sometimes things go wrong, but some of the complaints I've heard have just been so unreasonable that there was one. I just remember there was one person sat there. And she basically started. This is the worst roast dinner I've ever had, and I thought, I don't think it is. It can't. It literally can't be. I know it's your opinion. I know the customer's always right, and that's your opinion. But that's not true. And so I kind of I dug a bit. So could you just give me some feedback? Let me know in what way. She said, well, it's the carrot. I was like, right, okay. She said the carrot it's not cooked. It's too raw. I said, well, we do cook our vegetables on the al dente side because with all due respect, we're cooking roast dinners here for about 100 people. We can't take individual requests for how everyone wants their veg cooked, so we have to make a decision and cook it that way. And she was like, well, it's too hard. I said, well, again, I apologise, but like I say, we have to make a decision how we cook the veg. And she said, do you mind if I go round everyone in your restaurant and ask them if that's the way they want their carrots cooked? And at this point, I was like, she's actually really starting to piss me off. I was just like, it's just a carrot. No, because she'd eaten the rest of it. And I think she'd eaten half the carrot. And so I was just like, I'd really rather you didn't do that. I'd really rather you didn't go around the whole restaurant and ask them if that's how they want their carrots cooked. Because I kind of feel like you're going to tell them first, like, my carrot was hard. Like, what do you think about hard carrots? And they might have thought their carrot was fine, but then they might think, well, yeah, I do prefer mine, like, with less of a bite. But I wouldn't have said anything. And then, but she's the only person that's ever complained about the carrot, I think, to my knowledge. So I think the carrots are fine. Anyway, then she just started telling me how she was going to leave a terrible review on TripAdvisor, and I was just like, listen, there's nothing to do about it. We then gave the whole table free desserts. So I went. No, I don't. I think by this point I've been taken away. I think the guys behind the counter said, "Look, you can't talk to them anymore because you're going to lose your head," and they were right. And I think they had the desserts, and I think I can't remember who was serving them. Went over and said, "How are your desserts?" And I think the feedback was marginally better, and that was it. And that's right. Then the bill came over, and she brought the bill up. Bearing in mind we'd already given them all free desserts, and she said, "I cannot believe you haven't taken our roast dinners off." And I thought, bearing in mind they'd all eaten them. This is what I couldn't understand. And we get this a lot. People will eat their entire dinner. How was that? I didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. So, really? You look like you enjoyed it. There's nothing left. Or we do a steak night on a Thursday. People. I've literally seen people eat a steak and leave about that much. How was your steak? It wasn't cooked how I wanted it. Okay, well, you could tell us at the start, and then we could do something. We literally would have cooked you a fresh steak. We don't want to, of course, and steaks are such a. What did we have once? I don't know what I'm just going off. This is a whole podcast episode on itself. Ridiculous complaints, but I'll just do one more because I know this isn't what I'm supposed to be talking about today. Someone ordered a rare steak. So I think it was I can't remember if it was the sirloin or the ribeye. So a thick steak. I mean, you shouldn't have in my opinion, you shouldn't have a ribeye rare anyway. I think that already tells you that someone probably doesn't really know what they're talking about. And they wanted it rare, so we cooked it rare, took it out, they cut it open. I was about to say she, I can't remember if it was he or she. And she went, it's cold in the middle. And we're like, well, yeah, you wanted it rare. Yeah, I wanted it rare, but I didn't want it cold in the middle. Right. I mean, it wasn't cold, obviously. I don't mean like, all the steaks are brought up to room temperature. It's not like it's ice cold. It was just, it wasn't cooked. Then it got to the point where she was just saying, I said she again, I can't confirm. It must have been a she, because I've said it 3 times. She's saying, I want it rare, but I want it warm in the middle. Oh, well, so I think we cooked her a whole new steak. Again, rare. And I think she said the same thing again. And I just think that you just kind of like, I don't know, at that point, you just like give up. Like you can't be cooking steaks all night for people, then just like saying it's wrong when you know you're right. And steak night is a difficult one because if you get one wrong, it costs you quite a bit of money. Like the margin on losing a steak is not great. But anyway, like I say, that is a whole different conversation. I don't really know why I went down that rabbit hole, but I did. Okay, we're going to start wrapping things up. So, is it worth it? Is it worth running a pub? What's the point? Have I just been bitching for 21 minutes? I don't think so, but I haven't given you any pros at the moment. It's mostly just cons. So, why do it? Well, I went into it quite blind. Why do it is the answer. Why did I do it? I thought it fitted our family life. Sorry, not family life. I was looking for something to do. I'd quit my job. Well, I'd taken a sabbatical from my job to try and do social media full time. I didn't like social media full time, so after a week I was like, right, I'm going back to work. I can't do this. I'm bored stiff. It's not giving me enough to do. And then I saw an advert for this place, which I kind of touched on in the first episode of this podcast. It fit the content really well. I mean, I enjoy food, and it felt like a really good challenge. And I thought, we had a 5-year lease with a 2-year breaker. I thought, how much damage can we do in 2 years? Can't lose that much money, surely. So we just went for it, and that's kind of how we fell into it. Not fell into it, but that's how we did it, and that's why we're here. And over the near 2-year period, it's been I've obviously there's been downs, but there's been way more ups than downs, and mostly to do with staff. I would say I think staff is the best. Sometimes it's been bad and kind of, well, at times I'm not going to say heartbreaking, but there's been some really bad moments in terms of emotional decisions and emotional things that have happened. I'm quite trusting, probably too trusting. In fact, definitely too trusting. But I also base a lot of what I do on trust, and I think I'm quite a good judge of character. I'd like to think I am. Obviously, if you think that, you're going to get it wrong on occasions. But we've definitely got it right more than we've got it wrong. I've met some fantastic people. It's a really young team. We've got a really young team. I think, front of house, it's a really young team. But I've met some fantastic young people, a lot of them that are still here, who aren't as young as they were when we started 2 years ago. And to watch them kind of all grow with the business, and like flourish as people and change as people over the 2 years we've been here has been amazing to watch, and it's been like a highlight of having this place really. We've also, being able to employ lots of young people from the local area has been great as well. Like, we've given some people their first jobs, we've given some people a way out of horrible places that they've hated working at, and give them hopefully a friendlier environment. We don't always get that right. There's always issues, of course, with any kind of place where you're working under high pressure in a smallish team. You're always going to get heads butting. But we've always kind of tried to deal with it in a sensible way where everyone gets to talk it out and talk through what's going on. So everyone feels like they're a part of any kind of process, which I think has always worked quite well, because people like to, even if they don't say anything in like these meetings or in these things, I think people like to feel like they've got a chance to say something, or they like to be heard, and I think that's worked really well. But I mean, I can never divulge everything that's gone on here, but what I will say is there's 3 new relationships have formed from this pub, which is amazing. A lot of people have bought themselves some cars, so we've obviously, given people some jobs, stability over a period of time. Eventually wage slips once I got my arse in gear and got that sorted. So I think we're building a nice platform for some youngsters who are not so young anymore, who will either stick around with us, or if they want to go off and to bigger and better things, absolutely fantastic. I'd love to see them stay and flourish, or go off and build better and bigger things, as long as they stay in touch and we always kind of hear what they're up to. But so I think that's kind of my highlight of this place, is the team and what we've all done together as kind of helping each other out and kind of feeling our way into this business, making mistakes, but also getting a lot of stuff right as well. And it's that is really, really rewarding. And we're kind of like the events we do, and that's kind of what makes it matter. Just yesterday, for instance, we had this Macmillan fundraiser doing darts. So it kind of felt a bit like a staff day out, really. Like all the staff joined in the tournament, and we had a really nice group of locals in as well. And we just had a really good, fun night. We raised some money. It went really well. It was organised a bit in my typical fashion. It was organised a bit on the last minute, on the hoof, but we got it sorted. It all went really well. Everyone had a great time, and we raised some money, so all sorted. So my last point is, like, we're in pubs. Why do pubs matter? And I think it's for that reason, really. Pubs matter because it gives people a place to go. I think we touched on this again like in the last episode, but it gives people a place to go who might not go out during the week. It gives them a place to come and meet and talk to people. And just, we get people that come in here on their own, and then within 10 minutes, they're all sat around a table and they're having a chat. And that's why pubs matter to a community, because it brings people together. They also matter because pubs give a lot of people their first jobs, whether it be in the pot wash, food running. We've had people that started in the pot wash. They're now out front. Then they went food running, and now they're front of house. They're taking their own tables. And this, well, I'll give you one example from a, I think, I'm not going to say her name, but she was here first night in the pot wash, and she must have been 15, 14. Anyway, like I say, she's now out front taking tables, growing in confidence, and it's just fantastic to watch. And we've got more people doing that. We've got a chef now who's kind of doing great things. He pretty much runs steak night, cooks all the steaks on steak nights every week. He started off in the pot wash, and he moved on. He moved, and he's doing great things. We had another chef whose first ever night service was on our first night. I'm not sure he told anyone that beforehand. Either way, and he's been with us the whole time, and he's now doing great things in the kitchen as well. Our front of house manager, she's been with us from day one as well. And when she came here, she was so kind of like, she definitely, I'm sure she'd admit herself, she needed to find her voice, and she has found her voice, and she's doing great things. She's taking on more and more kind of management responsibility. She's learning on the job as well. Again, I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying that. She's learning on the job as well, and she's doing great. And it's been great to watch that grow. I'm going back to my old point. I can't remember what I started here, and everyone else, all the other team leaders we've got out front as well. I feel like I'm going to have to mention everyone now. I can't really single people out, but everyone. You're all great. I'm not singling anyone out. You all know who you are. So that's kind of how. That's why pubs matter. I think it's the people that work here, and it's the people that come in, and like that crossover of giving people jobs and giving people a place to come and have a drink and socialise, and that's it. I think I'm going to finish now. We've done half an hour. I think, what have I written down here? I think the reason a lot of pubs fail or close is really because people don't care. It's because the cost of caring, be it monetary or emotional, is 1,000,000 times more than people will ever realise. Why did I write that? I literally wrote that last night. I think the reason a lot of pubs fail or close is rarely because people don't care. You're right, this is right. So pubs, I know what I kind of understand what I wrote. So that's right. Pubs don't close because people don't care. There might be financial struggles which are causing people to, but I suspect a lot of it is because people care too much and it just completely fries them. And at that point where it becomes, I do this for the love and a bit of money, but now I'm having to do it just for the love and no money. What's the point? And that's what we're facing now. That is basically what with the business rates increase and no help on that. That is what we're getting to. People that love to run pubs and run pubs for communities for the love and for a bit of money, their salary, the salary's gone. So who's going to run the pubs just for the love? No one, because it makes no sense. And I think that's really sad. And people need to go and help these people. The government need to help these people. But if you love pubs, keep going to pubs. Help them, support them. Publicans don't want to charge the money they're charging, but they've got no choice because that's what it costs, unfortunately. And most people are making under 20p on a pint. So next time you're having one and you see the landlord, just think that when you're drinking that pint, 20p is could be going in his pocket. It ain't a lot of money, is it really? So anyway, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. That is episode 3 done and dusted. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please subscribe to it. You can see it on YouTube. It's on Spotify, all the other normal places, I think. I don't really know because I'm uploading it and I don't really know what I'm doing. But hopefully they'll be there. And I'll see you all next week. Hopefully we'll have a guest. If you can think of anyone's got any ideas for guests, please get them in the comments as well. I think I might do next week's with Mrs. May, with my wife, and we can do it from her point of view. But that's me, over and out. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care.